Hey everybody, welcome to Malt User Whiskey Reviews. Up on the bar for today, I have a world whiskey coming out of Goa, India. Paul John Select Cask Oloroso. As always, no states finish review of this whiskey is coming your way. I'll tell you a bit about the value, give you my final thoughts and a final score. I will also leave you with a malt musing as always. But first, before we get into anything, take a second, smash that subscribe button. That'll make sure you don't miss these whiskey reviews. I drop them every Friday here on YouTube. I also have a Tuesday happy hour, Tuesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern time. I stream it live here on YouTube. You do not want to miss that. It is always a good time. Would love to see you in the chat. Okay, I'm going to get this poured in the glass and tell you a bit about it. So Paul John whiskey comes out of Goa, India. It is one of the, I would say, two main big distillers coming out of India these days, along with Amrut up in Bangalore. So this whiskey in particular, it is called the Select Cask. It is 48% ABV. It is non-chill filtered. It's also right here on the label. And here on the back, it tells you a bit about what's going on in it. Some tasting notes. It says it is finished in Oloroso casks, a long finished in Oloroso casks, whatever that means. This does come with a box. I should disclaim there may be more information on the box. I do not know. However, because there is not much on the bottle itself, I did go onto the old interwebs to get you guys a little bit more details on this whiskey. And so this is what I was able to find out. So of course it is 100% malted barley, as it is a single malt whiskey. It is an NAS, as I mentioned. There's no age statement on here. However, according to the internet and reputable sources, it's about a 7-year-old whiskey, which is pretty significant for an Indian whiskey, considering they lose about 8 to 10% a year in maturation in casks due to elevation and climate, otherwise known as the angel share. So 7-year-old whiskey, you know, pretty good deal for something coming out of India these days. I would also mention that it is a combination of first fill ex-bourbon cask, which it says it's been about 5 years in, and then that long finish that it tells you about 2 years first fill Oloroso sherry. So that's what we're looking at here. It would be nice if this stuff was on the bottle. Again, if it's on the box, I don't mean to disparage you, Paul John, but the bottle is always even better. So that is the tail of the tape here on the Paul John Select Cask Oloroso. For those keeping score at home, this is batch number 4, and this one is for export overseas. So this one was designed for the American market. 48% ABV. We got some in the glass. That's the color we're looking at. We don't know if it's natural color or not. I'm going to go ahead and guess that it is, but I can't be sure. So we should just go ahead assuming that it is not, despite my best guess is thinking to the contrary. They don't chill filter, which is great. So we'll give them that. Okay, on the nose. Wow. Lots of spices. Slightly dry. You can tell it's a little bit woody and dry. Dark fruit. It's kind of leathery. And that cherry is definitely there. You're getting the dry red fruit spices, kind of like Christmas spices. Really nice. It smells like it's got some age on it. Really, you're kind of looking at a dry spice, slightly sweet, slightly herbal kind of nose on this whiskey. It's definitely intriguing. Okay, let's give it a taste. It's on chill. This is a very rich whiskey. 48%, nice ABV, but it's not cask strength or anything. But boy, full, luscious, rich mouthfeel, tons of sherry. Again, this is first fill on the finish for 2 years, and it's definitely making its presence known. It's sticky. You got sweet red fruits, you got darker red fruits. There's some kind of citrus notes, hints of maybe kind of, I don't know, kind of candied fruit, something like that maybe. A little bit of almond maybe, kind of just again slight nuttiness. There's a little bit of like a nougat or marzipan kind of thing going on. Little hints of vanilla, little hints of brown sugar, caramel into a medium long finish. Leaves you with the dark fruits on the finish. Some nice kind of slight spices. Again, real subtle on the spices. They're varied, but they're not overpowering. There's like cinnamon, maybe a little bit of allspice, maybe a little hint of clove. Really kind of all very well moderated. Do one more neat sip here. Man, it hits the tongue just wonderfully. Sweet, oily, full. And then as it goes along, again, you get the kind of the more dry spices come up. Get this sweet orange thing happening now, and then slowly gets a bit drier. It is not a tannic dryness. It's just like a kind of almost sort of red wine type dryness. I suppose that's somewhat tannic, but you are getting just slightly drying, but it is not, you know, the star of the show here, and it does make room for a lot of these other flavors. Really, really nice. Okay, 48%. We're just going to do a couple drops of water here. Bring this down just a little bit. Let's see what else we got going. Not a ton changing. I'm getting more orange. I'm even getting some like kind of licorice, red licorice notes. Twizzler, red vine, I don't know, you choose. They're different, but I can't quite pick it apart on the whiskey. Yeah, just like a potpourri kind of. Then citric, orange, citrus, red fruits, nice baking spices, Christmas spices. All right, here we go. What a great mouthfeel. Did I mention that already? I did, but I'm going to say it again. Mouthfeel on this is great. Soft, oily, viscous, very full, rich. As it goes along now with the water, you're getting more of those bourbon cask notes, the dark chocolate, the slight hints of coconut. But that red fruit's still there, slightly drying as it goes into the finish, getting more kind of orange, candied orange, even apricot a little bit. Slate cola note, chocolate, going into a really nice finish. Not getting that leathery thing as quite as much as I was when it was neat on the nose, but legit. Yo, whiskey don't play. Okay, let's talk value. This is not exactly an exclusive whiskey. You can find these pretty easily here in the United States. They might not be the one, you know, that you find on the shelf with all the other Paul Johns at every store. You're not going to find it at your grocery store. What you're going to probably have to do, check out a good liquor store in your neighborhood. But when you do, you're going to find this right around that $100, maybe $115 range. Now, you may say to yourself, that's a pretty steep price to ask for a whiskey that is only 7 years old. But as I will talk about in my final thoughts, you know, you have to keep it in perspective based on where this whiskey has spent its time aging. So as far as value goes in this, I'm actually going to go with a medium high value. Again, at that $120 price point, you will talk about shortly. I think this whiskey is quite a good value for the quality you're getting. Finale thoughts. Paul John Select Cask Oloroso, 48% non-chill filtered. This is a good one. I have had the privilege of tasting quite a bit of whiskeys from India over the past couple of years, but this year in specific. And if you look back, you can see some of my other Paul John reviews, including the Bold and some of the Christmas editions. I have pretty much enjoyed everything from them, and this is no exception. And in fact, this might be one of the better ones I've had. When I bought it, I saw that it was Oloroso cask. I assumed that this was all Oloroso. Not the case, according to experts On the internet, it's predominantly ex-bourbon, and I will say that should not discourage you or take anything away from this. This is still a pretty much a sherry bomb. There's a lot of complexity here, wonderful mouth flavor, and that's 7 years old. You have to think about that in terms of the climate and the location of where this is being matured. In Scotland, the climate is much cooler, therefore it takes much longer for casks to impart their magical flavors into spirits compared to places that are in more tropical climates like our whiskey here from Goa, India. So much like Cavalan, look at this with a little bit of a grain of salt. This could be upwards of a 16, 17 year in Canada or in Scotland, give or take. So around that $100 mark, this is a pretty good price. Delicious stuff, great ABV, love the non-chill filtration. I think the sherry is really showing off here. They didn't pick some really excellent casks for this. The bourbon gives it a nice backbone to give it some extra kind of complexity. Big fan of this whiskey. This is probably up there with one of my more impressive malts from Paul John that I've had. I'm going to give this a 4.25 out of 5. So big fan. Keep an eye out for this. 4.25 out of 5 is my final score on the Paul John Select Cask Oloroso. This is one you're going to want on your bar if you like a sherry bomb. All right. Let me know in the chat what Paul John, or in the comments, I should say, what Paul John whiskeys or any other whiskeys from India have you had that were particularly impressive? Have you had this one? What do you think? Again, this was batch 4, so there might be some batch variation, but very impressed with this. Again, 4.25 out of 5, so much praise for this Paul John. I'm going to kick you over to your malt musing, and with that, I'll see you next time here on Malt Muser Whiskey Reviews. Salon, y'all.